USS Albany was a United States Navy Oregon City-class heavy cruiser, later converted to the guided missile cruiser CG-10. The converted cruiser was the lead ship of the new Albany guided missile cruiser class. She was the fourth ship to carry the name Albany. The ship was laid down on March 6, 1944 at Quincy, Massachusetts, by the Bethlehem Steel Company, launched on June 30, 1945, sponsored by Mrs. Elizabeth F. Pinckney, and commissioned on June 15, 1946 at the Boston Navy Yard, Captain Harold A. Carlisle in command. Service history: following outfitting and a shakedown cruise in the vicinity of Casco Bay, Maine, Albany began operations along the east coast of the United States, punctuated with cruises to the West Indies. During the ensuing months, the cruiser made a number of voyages for the purpose of training naval reservists and NROTC midshipmen. Albany continued to perform such duty until September 11, 1948, when she stood out of Chesapeake Bay for her first tour of duty with the American naval forces operating in the Mediterranean Sea, recently made a permanent establishment as the Sixth Fleet. That deployment set the tone for the next decade. The cruiser alternated 5 assignments to the Sixth Fleet with operations along the east coast of the United States and in the West Indies, and made 3 cruises to South American ports. During one of the South American voyages, Albany carried the official United States representative to the inauguration of the President of Brazil in January 1951. For 2 years, stretching at least until the autumn of 1955, Albany served as flagship for Commander, Battleship Cruiser Force, Atlantic. Conversion to guided missile cruiser equals, on June 30, 1958, Albany was placed out of commission at the Boston Naval Shipyard to begin conversion to a guided missile cruiser. On November 1, 1958, she was redesignated CG-10. The warship spent the next 4 years at Boston undergoing very extensive modifications as part of the conversion. Stripped down to her hull to be fitted with a new superstructure. Albany was recommissioned at Boston on November 3, 1962 with Captain Ben B. Pickett in command. For almost 5 years, she alternated deployments to European waters both to the Mediterranean Sea and to the North Atlantic with operations along the East Coast and in the West Indies. During that time, the cruiser visited many foreign ports and participated in a number of exercises with units of friendly navies. On March 1, 1967, she was decommissioned at the Boston Naval Shipyard once again to undergo extensive modifications. Some 20 months later, on November 9, 1968, Albany was placed back in commission at Boston with Captain Alan P. Slaff in command. In 1973, the ship was again decommissioned for overhaul at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. It was recommissioned in May 1974 and home-ported in Norfolk, Virginia under the command of Captain John J. Kelland. Shortly thereafter it became the flagship of the Second Fleet. Between 1976 and 1980, Albany was the flagship of the Sixth Fleet, and home-ported in Geta, Italy. Decommissioning and disposal: Albany was decommissioned on August 29, 1980 and laid up on the Elizabeth River across from the Norfolk Navy Yard. She was stricken from the Naval Vessel Register on June 30, 1985, but she remained at her berth and held for possible donation as a museum ship in her namesake city for a further 5 years. Though there was serious interest in saving the ship, a feasible museum and financial plan was never realized and she was sold for scrapping on August 12, 1990. Commemoration: a portion of Albany Ship bow resides at the Albany County Fairgrounds in Altamont, New York. The original 14-foot-long brass model of the ship built by the United States Navy to help determine where antenna arrays would go on the actual-size ships was restored in 2013 and is on display at the Albany Heritage Area Visitors Center. References. Further reading: Albany. USS Albany CA-123, Mediterranean Cruise of 1951. Place of publication not identified, publisher not identified, 1951. OCLC 30,880,411, Albany. The USS Albany, 1955 Mediterranean Cruise. Place of publication not identified, publisher not identified, 1955. OCLC 30,881,092. External links: USS Albany Association homepage, photos of Albany, Naval Vessel Register entry for Albany, entry for Akeland Range. This article includes information collected from the public domain sources Dictionary of American Naval Fighting Ships and Naval Vessel Register.